Hey everybody, welcome to John Wayne Lied to You, the storytelling podcast featuring me, John Wayne. And it's a good day today, I gotta say. It's a good day to be sitting here in my library of evil recording a podcast. But it's also a good day because I'm holding in my hand my brand new book, my new collection just came out. John Wayne Lied to You, a mostly true account of the adventures of a modern day hero from Rooster Republic Press. I'm very excited about this. And this is a collection of stories that actually were all originally performed in grown up story times throughout the last few years. And I'm very excited to put it together and have it come out. So thank you, Rooster Republic. I appreciate you guys so much. And if you're listening to this on the day it came out, on Monday, the 17th, tomorrow, the 18th, Tuesday, if you come to Grown Up Storytime and you're in Houston at Rudyard's, I will be there selling copies of the book. You can buy one right there from me at Grown Up Storytime, and I'll sign it or bleed on it or whatever you want me to do. I'm really pretty flexible when it comes to that. So fuck yeah, check it out. And if you're not in Houston, you can't get a copy that night, or either way, you can please just go to Amazon and get one. You can go to johnwayneisdead.com and follow the link to that there. You can go to roosterrepublicpress.com, and there'll be all of these things are available unto you, my dear good friends. Thank you and welcome back. I appreciate you letting me gush about my new book at the top of this. It was just, I felt like big news at the top. That's just how I felt, so I went with it. That's my gut. So anyway, if you guys don't know, I am a writer, mostly of bizarro fiction, but as I just said, my creative nonfiction book just came out. But you can also check out my other stuff that I have out: Porn Star Retirement Plan, Charge Land, and Ant Poster, all available on Amazon, all available through johnwayneisdead.com. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about life, love, and La Bamba. Unfortunately, this story doesn't have anything to do with La Bamba, but I wish it... You know what? It might, In your heart, I like to think La Bamba is always kind of there. Johnny La Bamba. Anyway, this is a podcast where I tell you stories from my life of crazy adventures or just happenstance. So happenstance. I mentioned before, I am a writer of fiction, but one thing about these stories on the podcast is that they are all 100% true. I'm not trying to pull the wool over anyone's eyes here. I'm not trying to slide the old slippery one in behind the sinkhole. None of it. I'm not. These are true. True stories. And I hope you enjoy them. So today we're going to talk about something I think, this is my story that's unique to me, but I like to think that every young man out there, every man, young, old, doesn't matter, has had this same story. It happened to me as a young man. It happened to us all as a young man. Young men, even. And while this, like I said, is my own encounter of how this happened to me, I like to think that we can all come together under this and recognize the absolute power of porn in the woods. First of all, let me start off by saying I feel like porn in the woods is it's a dying trend. It's not quite extinct yet. Like, it's still out there, like, in certain areas during certain times of year maybe, but it certainly isn't as prevalent as it was. And it's not due to over hunting or anything like that. It's due to the internet. So I guess there's if you've always had the internet growing up, then this is like a tale of analog like way back when times for you, but I still feel like you can relate. It's just not as prevalent as it used to be. Porn in the woods. I think that probably every guy over a certain age has that story, and then like when you get somewhere in the wherever millennials sit, they probably don't have that problem because they've always had porn on their phone. You know, they'll be like, why don't you call the story porn on your phone, asshole? Well, because I didn't have a phone back then, and they didn't exist. So who's the asshole now? It's probably still me. I'm sorry. Thank you for staying. Anyway, so I guess I was probably about in, I don't know how old you are, in like third-ish grade, somewhere around there. And I had a good friend who was my best friend at the time. His name is Jonathan. And we would just hang out all the time, like, you know, dumb little kids do. You know, we were kind of dorky. We just, you know, were friends with each other, just kind of pretty much hung out with each other all the time. And I would ride my bike to his house, you know, he'd ride his bike to my house, whatever. So when we would hang out at his house, the his backyard over the fence in his backyard was like kind of like a partially, I don't, not wooded, but just like some brush shrubbery, if you will, and like a field with some trees and shit. And you walk across just a little ways, not even like, you could even call this like a fucking proper woods, but you know, like 20 yards you walk across it and you're in the parking lot for a grocery store in the neighborhood. It was called Budget Chopper back then. And we would, you know, anytime we'd hang out at his house, it was always like, you know, let's scrape together change and jump the fence and go to Budget Chopper because they had arcade games there we could play. Or we'd, I don't know, we'd just buy dumb shit like fucking gum or slingshots or some shit. I don't know, we were just stupid, dumb kids. So, you know, we made this trek to Budget Chopper and back quite often, probably daily, especially if it was the summer, which it was at this particular time. And one day we're over there just like usual and decide to do the old daily routine of let's scrape together all the change we can find and head all over to the Budget O Chopper. But this time when we jumped a fence, we both saw something caught our eye on the ground that certainly hadn't been there before. It was partially covered by some pine needles and leaves and shit like that, but we could tell that it was a magazine. It had like some water damage to the like the edges of the paper, kind of crinkly throughout, like against that, but like that was it. It was pretty much like a, you know, regular condition magazine. The thing about this magazine was that we could, you know, on the cover is this woman with no top on, big tits hanging out. And the magazine is called Cherry. Now, those of you who know that Cherry is like one of the like kind of skankier magazines of porn, if you're gonna go that route. Lots of penetration, lots of just like, there's no like you know, tasteful like cheerleader jumps up and down, like, you know, her bush glistening in the sunrise or sunset, you know, covered in Crisco or something like that. I don't know. This is just like the dirty like chicks like just shoving things in each other. Like, just Cherry is a dirty magazine, okay? It's one of the dirtiest. And you know, and while I'd seen, you know, I'm a kid at this point, but of course I've seen boobs like up to that point. You know, I've seen them here and there, glimpses on television, but also my good old Uncle John. Shout out Uncle John. How you doing up there in Pittsburgh, PA? He used to have a body shop when I was very young, like 4 or 5, and I would go up there with my dad. And typical body shop, like you're hanging out with the boys in the early '80s in a body shop, and you've got, of course, a nudie calendar on the wall. I think it comes like requisite standard with all body shops. At least it did back then. I'm pretty sure it was regulation. So I saw that one day, and like, man, every time I went to the body shop, I would always find a reason to kind of like wander over there and just look at those tits, and not know why I liked them, but just that I did, and that it was good. Amen. But anyway, I'd seen, so basically what I'm saying is I'd seen tits. So this magazine, the cover is tits, right? So you're like, oh shit, awesome. So we pick it up, like kind of hold it together, like we're like, oh shit, kind of looking around, like, is anybody looking at us? What the hell, And we open it up, and there's a picture of like the woman that's on the cover is got this like kind of all red lacy lingerie with like some like lacy panties that have the garter things hanging down, like getting the socks, the knee highs or whatever, something like that. And she's pulling down the bra part, right? And there's like, bam, her tits again. You're like, oh, okay, cool, we saw that on the cover. What else we got? Or what else do we expect to have? More tits, please. And then we turn the page, and the woman is now totally naked, laying back on a bed, like spread eagle, with her like fingers spreading her vagina. And I just remember it was so red. I was like, is it supposed to be that red? What's happening? I was very confused, but not as confused as I was when we turn the page again, and boom, it's a full close-up. Like the whole page is this fine young woman's vagina with her fingers spreading it open. And it looked like a walrus had been shot up in the chin with a shotgun and blown like its head apart. Like that's kind of what it reminded, like, or made me think, like, well, shit, that's what that is. It was just like all kinds of folds and wets and stuff and hair, and just, it was a lot, overload. But at the same time, you're like, I don't know why, but I like this. It is more than that, though, It was like, I'd seen boobs, like I said. In some sense, to me at least, it was like boobs were the grand finale. That was the fireworks display, as far as I was concerned. Whatever that was, that other area, I was aware it existed. I was aware it was different. But it had eluded me until this day. And now, in all its splendor and glory, and some would say a little too glorious due to the zoom lens on the camera, but I say no. It's like they say, the best way to learn something new is to just take it on full force, take the brunt of it on, like when your dad would throw you into the deep end of the pool and say, that's how you were supposed to learn to swim. That's kind of like what seeing that extremely close and detailed look at the female human vagina in all its glistening, meaty, folded goodness. Just there. Head on. Right into the brunt. And I think that some would say maybe that's not the best way to learn about the female human anatomy in such a crass form, so suddenly sprung upon you with no pretense or explanation, just left to look as if perhaps this woman was dying. You didn't know. Maybe this was a snuff magazine. You didn't even know what those were back then. Who knows? I'm just saying. It was jarring. But awesome. Really awesome, you know? And I think I knew that it was for me. And I was happy about that. Jonathan and I stood there and took in about as much of the glistening pink behemoth as we could, until we both kind of freaked out, dropped the magazine, and ran across the little field to the parking lot of Budget Chopper, to the Budget Chopper, where we basically just tried to kill, like pretend like we were doing something, like we were killing time before we just really wanted to go back and look at the magazine some more. But like neither of us wanted to be the one that brought it up, because then that would be weird. So you're waiting for the other person to bring it up, like, hey, maybe we should look at the magazine again. Like, you know, you just can't say it at that time. It was an awkward time. What a time. But awkward, you know. The communication just wasn't what it is today. And I'm thankful for that. But it was what it was. And we finally ended up spending all our change on penny whistles and moon pies, and walking back across the field back to where the old magazine lay. And of course we, kind of stalled before we jumped the fence back into his backyard, just kind of like, man, I wonder where it came from, right? I mean, what do you think? We're coming up with theories, and anything that we can talk about to keep us standing around it long enough until like either one of us grows enough balls to pick it up and look at it again, or maybe the wind happens to blow the cover open and we get another glimpse of the jewel we sought. But no such luck in the wind department. But we did both acquiesce to our urges to pick the magazine back up and kind of look through it again a little bit, but very quickly this time. We were like, it was kind of like we were like, oh god, oh, we got to do it quick, and dropped it and went back inside. And I went home later, a changed man, really, a changed boy man. And the rest of the summer we would look at that cherry magazine every time we jumped the fence to go to the Budget Chopper. Sometime with no money, just so we could look at the cherry magazine. And then one day, it was gone. Just out of the blue. It had been there. Old faithful, reliable, cherry magazine. And now it's gone. And it sucked, but in a way it was good. I think that we'd learned all we could from the magazine, and the magazine knew that it had taught us all it had to teach. What probably happened is some, other kids were walking down back there and found it and picked it up and took it. Or maybe an adult, maybe his parents found it, threw it away, who knows. But I like to think that the magazine knew it had served its purpose with us and moved on to where it would help the next hapless young chaps looking for a little enlightenment, little knowledge, and a little exhilaration. All right, so porn in the woods, like I said, definitely a dying trend, something that is slowly going the way of the buffalo, if you will. Not too much porn you're going to find in the woods, and even if there was an abundance of porn to be found in the woods these days, I don't imagine people would be looking for it, because porn is just so easily accessible now. It's just right there. You don't have to work for it. You don't have to climb a fence or find excuses to go look at a dirty magazine in the middle of a field with your friend and have weird boners, together. While that is a bonding experience, it's just not cool sometimes. Okay? It's just not cool. But anyway, everybody has it much easier today, and I, for one, am glad that we don't have to go traipsing through the woods for our porn anymore. And I think we're all a better society for that, to be quite honest with you. So, porn aside, thank you guys again for joining me for another episode of John Wayne Lied to You. Please check out everything I do over at my website, johnwayneisdead.com. Speaking of John Wayne is Dead, that's the band I play in with my buddy Chris Jett. We have some shows coming up, and if you go to the site, you can see all of our dates in the Houston and surrounding areas. And also, hey, like I said, big news, top of the show, new book out from Rooster Republic Press. John Wayne Lied to You, a mostly true account of the adventures of a modern day hero. How about you just give Uncle Johnny a little bump there and hit the click to buy button on Amazon. Help him out. It'd be pretty nice if you did. Now, but if you would like, that'd be awesome. Check out that book. It's just coming out. If you come to Grown Up Storytime tomorrow, you can buy one from me directly. And don't forget to check out all the other stuff that I have. Charge Land, Ant Poster, Porn Star Retirement Plan, and everything that I have out on johnwayneisdead.com, including the podcast and the YouTube page, which you can also subscribe to this podcast on YouTube if you didn't know that. So anyway, I feel like I'm rambling, but I've also, you didn't know, or maybe you did know, I've been like smoking weed throughout this entire story, and now I'm getting to the end, so I'm pretty high right now, so I feel like that's fine. I'm rambling a little bit, but it's all good, pertinent information. I feel it's good. So anyway, thanks guys. Thanks to the Mockingbird Network for having us on, and check them out for all the great other shows from some great friends of mine here in Houston. Anyway, go jerk off to your easy porn, everybody. Just pull it up on your phone. You don't have to work for it. It's okay. Why don't you call someone else over to jerk you off while you're at it? Anyway, see you next time.